Hi, how are you? My name is Thuli Molefe. I'm mostly known as Thuli the King, and I welcome you to the Thuli the King Connection podcast. We're gonna have a ball. I'm here with a guest, a dear friend of mine, very wise, very smart, and I know that we're going to have a great time. We're gonna talk about topics that matter to us, things that are very important for us as South Africans, as Africans, and the world at large. But then we're going to talk about things that impact us today. My guest today is Vutshila Maringa. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the King Connection podcast. Thank you for making it here.
It's a pleasure.
Let's talk about who are you? Who are you, your names, and how do you describe yourself?
Alright, so my name is Vutshila Maringa. It's basically stands for art in Tsonga. Right? I'd like to call myself an entrepreneur, right? Because I have dived into multiple businesses in my days, and yeah, some successful, some not, but I mean, yeah, it's a process, right? So yeah, I'm an entrepreneur.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
How then would you define, on that note, an entrepreneur? What is that?
An entrepreneur is a problem solver, right? It's a passionate problem solver, right? Because all businesses that are currently active are there because there were problems that needed to be solved, right? We have logistics, we have construction, we have property, it all solves a certain problem, when you go into, an investor circle, right?
Sure.
The first question they'll ask you when you come and pitch your business is, what problem are you solving? And that's how they actually calculate the success rate, right? If the problem is more prevalent.
True.
See,
Yeah, that makes sense. I think right now we are seeing a wave of people trying to be more entrepreneurial. But I really think when we reflect, it seems like it has to happen. I mean, I think last year, 2020, our president, Cyril Ramaphosa, he said to us that, guys, you guys are on your own now. The government seems like we're not doing a good job. It's now time for you guys to create your own jobs. So do you really think that people should take such a stance, or is the government really letting us down by saying such things? Or do we then have to take their advice and start being more entrepreneurial?
I believe we should be more entrepreneurial, right? Because at the end of the day, that's the only real way we can actually create jobs. I mean, in our country, we have such a big shortage of jobs. So many unemployed people, and they're talented. They just need that platform. And how do we create that platform if it's not through entrepreneurship? So I feel more people should actually start venturing into business. It could be anything.
Sure.
Anything. Right? The main problem that I've noticed with a lot of people in South Africa is when you say you want to start a business, you want to start a business that someone else has already started. Right? You just want to start it because you want to make a profit.
Sure.
Right? But the main objective of a business is to solve a problem. So the people, they don't take the necessary steps, right? We notice these things. A lot of people, when they want to start businesses, the first thing that they say is, look, I want to start this business opportunity. It's going to make me money.
Sure.
Right? That's the first thing, right? And that's the wrong approach, right? Your first thing is, look, I noticed a problem, right? There's a shortage of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And I believe I can solve that problem.
Sure.
That's the stance, right? That's how we should actually approach these things, and in turn we'll have a better economic sector.
That's true. Very great. Guys, if you like what you're hearing, I think tap on that like button and subscribe. I mean, really, we're giving you some quality content, and I think the time is now. Do the moves.
If you're not subscribing, what are you doing?
Exactly. I mean, it's just a click, you don't lose much out of it. Okay, thank you for that then. Then I would ask myself then, wouldn't we have an influx, a huge supply, if you can call it that, of entrepreneurs? If everyone is an entrepreneur, who's going to be who are we creating the jobs for? Because it seems like the wave is becoming huge. No one wants to be a worker. People seem like they are more interested in being their own bosses, and it seems like it's a pride statement rather than really something that comes as a, as a, let's say, something that you bring something to the table. It's just a title. So don't you think that there will be an oversupply of such?
I don't believe so. Because if we actually change like our approach towards like entrepreneurship,
Sure.
right, as like a generation, I believe there are like gonna be like those positive changes, right?
Yeah.
And those positive changes are gonna be like more like jobs will be available for those who have the skills for those jobs, right? Because look at it this way, right? So many people now are starting businesses, right? Not because they actually passionate towards that certain business, right? Not because they actually like have that how can I put it, that drive, that thirst to actually like help someone, right? They have this thing of how can I put it? It's at the tip of my tongue.
Yeah.
Like, let me just go back. Let me just go back to problem solving, right? If you're not solving a problem, do not start that business, right? Because we'll have that overpopulation within a certain industry, right?
Yeah.
And like we don't need that. We really don't. We don't need more entrepreneurs, right? We need more problem solvers.
True.
See? And with that, there will be that balance, right? There's a huge imbalance now because a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs because a lot of people are following the wrong things.
True.
You see, like we see like a lot of people on Instagram, like flaunting cash,
Sure.
and that's the main reason why a lot of people just want to start businesses, right? It's because they want to be part of that, like elite group of flaunting cash, right? And that's the issue.
Yeah.
They should cut that, right? We should understand that like every single thing happens for a reason, you see. And if you want to be an entrepreneur, you must know that there must be a problem that you recognize and that you are willing to fix, right?
Yeah, powerful. So, on my reflection, I think there are different levels of entrepreneurship, and I think the ones that are most glorified are some of the ones we've highlighted. And it's usually these huge business owners who, and people might think things like entrepreneurs are just natural entrepreneurs. And honestly, in my view, yeah, they solve a problem and whatever, they have their ways, but I don't think they're natural entrepreneurs. Then I would ask myself, am I a natural entrepreneur? And from one thing I've noticed in my journey of business, because I also started a couple of businesses, I failed in 90%, maybe plus. And right now I'm still engaging in that entrepreneurial sector. I enjoy it. I really do it because I enjoy it. I don't really engage in a business or an idea that I don't feel like I can have enough energy or passion for. And so I think people should start to understand that there are people who are called intrapreneurs. Now, an intrapreneur, you're practically a problem solver within a business. You don't have to start a business altogether. Then there are also different types of entrepreneurs who they don't really solve a problem, they just amplify the solution. So, for example, then if I would say Bolt versus Uber, if I'm not mistaken, Bolt came after Uber. It was already there. Uber was very prevalent, it was big. But what from what I've seen by studying their business model, is they cater to accessibility to people who, if I can say, are not in a certain class. Because Uber is trying to, initially they were trying to cater to a certain class. And then it's only now they're starting to come a bit lower and try and accommodate almost everyone. Right? So Bolt said, look, we want to come in affordability. We want to access those guys who cannot really afford Uber. and we just want like a different interface. You know, it's very similar to Uber, but it's just the color difference and just those minor
and the marketing.
Exactly, and the marketing as well. So Bolt did not come up with anything new. They just maximized on a solution that was already being presented. So it's very interesting. And coming to that, then I asked myself, what is giving us the problem of us to compete as starting up entrepreneurs? What exactly is the problem? Because we fail so many times. You and I have personal experiences together. We have tried some huge businesses that could be worth over $1 billion. Like unicorn. Yeah, many more for sure, definitely. But we might not discuss that now. What exactly is stopping us from really getting into industry and becoming a big market player? What's happening?
It's the implementation.
Okay.
Mainly, right?
Yeah.
Anyone can have the brightest idea.
Sure.
Right? Anyone can, notice a problem and they have the best solution possible in their mind. Right?
Sure.
But all of that does not matter if your implementation is not well calculated, well calculated as your solution.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
So I'll make an example, right? There was a problem with food, access to food, right? And then ShopRite came into the space, and then they said, look, since it's difficult for people to find food, right? We're gonna make it accessible to people, right? And give you the food at a certain price. It's gonna be produced, right? It's gonna be packed in, because not everyone has that time to grow food at their backyard, right?
Exactly.
It's easier to just go to a place, get the food,
and some don't have the facility, and the resources.
So that happened, and then another player came into play, right?
Yeah.
Pick and Pay. And when Pick and Pay started, it started when ShopRite was already in the space.
Sure.
Right? And it's proof that your implementation is what's really key, because if Pick and Pay did not implement the way they did, right, they wouldn't be just as big as they are right now, because already there was a big player in the space. You see, so there's a very important thing about implementation. How you implement your things is very key. It's the key, because your implementation is your first interaction with the people. It's your first what do they call it? It's your first impression.
It's your first impression.
It's like when you meet someone, right, for the first time.
First impressions.
How you come to a person for the first time is how they will remember you for the rest of their life.
That's true.
Right?
It's
so
very impactful.
It's the same thing with business, right? How you present your business, how you present your solution to the problem is how they're gonna be taking it, right? And that's how you actually can enter a certain space.
Sure.
Right? It's not about who you are, right? It's not about where you come from, but it's about how you implement what you have.
Powerful. Honestly, that's a great point. I think there's also this culture. It's called death by what is it? Not PowerPoint. I'm now remembering school, but it's death by. Okay, let's call it death by meetings.
Okay.
People are over meeting. People are over planning, and that's what's happening in the country. We have plans. We have solid plans for everything, even the power issue. We have plans for those things.
Yeah.
But then the implementation, the lack of it, and the lack of quality within an implementation. You look at the entrepreneurship space as well. I mean, these guys, they get the tenders. They get the 1 million rand tender, and they're supposed to do a good job. They promise the good job, but guess what?
We were just talking about it earlier. We were literally just talking about it earlier.
They give a 10% output. It's scary.
Yeah.
But then, on top of implementation, on why we are set back, when you are a ShopRite and you are Pick and Pay, and then come the other players, you see Boxer, you see what is it? You see Spa. Those are, I think, are the top 4, if I'm not mistaken. I think there's one more missing. I think Woolies is not that big yet, but it's also a player.
I mean,
It's a
they
player.
have their market, but
They have
it's
their
the
market.
same space, yeah.
And you know what's ironic?
Mhm.
You know, when they compared baskets, consumer baskets, I forgot what the index is, but it's a consumer basket on affordability of goods that are important, what are they called? Essential.
Mhm.
Woolies is the cheapest. Anyway, it's funny how people think Woolies is expensive.
It's because of how they present themselves, how they implement, you know,
Yeah.
their first day. From the first day, that's how like we actually can tell, you know, where they're gonna move going forward, right? Because as they came in, they were like, look, man, we are here, right? We see there's this, there's that, right? But if you use us, we come with class.
Sure.
We come with a certain, you know, status, right?
Okay.
Like, you know, like honestly speaking, like now, like you can see it's prevalent, right? In
Sure.
the way, like, you know, like everybody like is just treating these brands,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Like it hits different when like, you know, someone comes and goes like, I just bought my groceries at ShopRite, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not throwing shots at ShopRite, okay? Like, you know, it just hits different when like someone comes and says, I just bought my groceries at ShopRite, you know, compared to I just bought my groceries at Woolworths. You know, there's just something about it.
Something
And
about it.
it's just
Treated
how
the
the brand is
a powerful
presented.
brand. A powerful brand. Okay, so it's implementation. Then you are now the top 4 or whatever, 5 in the industry. Then this is what we call an oligopoly or an oligopolistic system.
Yeah, it is.
You then come together. Let's leave high street stuff. But then you then can influence lobbyists to lobby is practically petitioning certain laws to come into play in an industry or in a sector. So you would call lobbies as Woolies, as Spar, ShopRite, Pick n Pay, those big guys, what did I miss, Box and there. And you say, guys, let's create stringent laws so that other players may not get as big as us because they're going to take our market share. Then we invest into that. Is that then not a problem that's being presented to us as people who are trying to be the next Woolies? And maybe our Woolies is maybe digital, it's just digital, we just deliver food, that's our niche. But then the industry is then, it has barriers. And on paper, there are no barriers. But when you implement it for real, for example, the suppliers, probably they're using the same suppliers. You need to now go to those suppliers, and those suppliers have contracts, binding contracts that say, look, we can't go with anyone else. Now you are cut out. But on paper, you are allowed to compete. So how then do you combat such a barrier to entry?
To be honest, when it comes to oligopolies, it's very difficult, right? Because I mean, you will want to enter, right? And on paper, yes, it does look like it's a very simple, like, you know, business to enter, right? But you know, like there's certain information they're giving out, right? And that information is the key, right?
Sure.
You know, because there might be like certain steps that you need to actually like take, you know, in order to like, you know, launch a brand like that.
Sure.
You know, there might be like some paperwork that you need to like fill out, you know, and like those things like they left out, you know, they left out. So combating it, I mean, hey man, like to be honest, you just need to really like, you know, dig deep. You know, the information is out there somewhere, right?
It is, yeah.
You know, but that goes back to, you know, like the passion, right? You know, like you must notice a problem in that space for you to actually have that drive to say, look, there's this problem, right? I see all these big players, they missing one crucial thing, and I think I'm that, you know, missing link, you know, and you actually like go out and dig, and then you will most definitely find it. I mean, how did they find that information if it's not accessible one way or another?
Sure. Yeah, you are right. But then what about the low-key tactics? And what these are, for example, is, can the government help us? Let me see. And why can't they help us? You know, I look at it, and And I'm saying, on paper, the government is supposed to be our
stronghold,
our fighter, that thing. So what's happening? Why can't the industries and the government? Why can't the government, as much as on paper, the government? Okay, no, let me say it like this: the government has a threshold, or has the ability to put a threshold on industry and industry players. They are the ones who commission regulations and laws. Now, question is, why then is it happening that oligopolies exist and such competitive spaces are created where they leave us out and barriers are made? Where's the government in all of this?
Because of the type of government that we have, the type of ruling that we have, right?
Okay.
Remember, we have socialist governments. Yes, okay. We have socialist governments. We have capitalist governments, and we have communist.
Yes,
communist governments, right? So we are in the middle, right? I wouldn't go.
Mixed economy,
right? That we are a mixed economy, right? And it's mainly socialist and capitalist, right? So that is the thing that's actually keeping these businesses afloat like that, and that's what's actually protecting them. You see?
Sure.
So yeah, it would be different if we were a communist government, right? That would be different. Now the government would really be involved, right? But as for now, there are certain laws that also stop them, from getting involved in some certain areas of businesses in the country, So yeah, it just boils down to that, the type of economy that we're actually living in.
In your understanding, what are the differences between those economic systems, capitalist, socialist, and communist?
It's how a government rules their country, right?
By definition of each, how, if you would, by your understanding, what's the definition of each? Because I believe that there are some viewers who are not too sure what that is.
Okay. So,
you're still dusted.
When it comes to the socialist, the socialism, it's a bit tricky, right? But I do know about capitalism, and I do know about the communism, right? When it comes to capitalism, right? If we're in a capitalist economy, we're in an economy where businesses are free to do whatever they want to do, right? When it comes to when it comes to the daily runnings, when it comes to the regulations, it's a bit more light, right?
Yeah.
And then when it comes to communism, the government is fully involved, right?
Sure.
Everything is owned by the government, every single thing, right? The main example is China, right? And the main example of capitalism is the US of A, right? And then socialism, how can I put it? Socialism is a bit of both, right? It's a bit of both, right? But hey, it's a bit sketchy, I don't want to lie, I don't want to lie to you guys.
I'll add on to it. So socialism is probably closer to communism than capitalism.
Yeah.
What it really focuses on is it allows capitalism to happen, but the government makes sure that the society benefits from the capitalistic views. Hence, we mentioned earlier that South Africa is a mix of capitalism and socialism, if I'm not mistaken. Because the socialism side is saying people must receive grants, free education, free healthcare, and such things. But you have a choice to go to the
which damages a part of the economy.
That's true.
Yeah.
Because if it was communist, what would happen is that the bar would just be social elements or socialist elements, which are saying whatever is the bar. So if we are raising the bar a bit, there's no more privatization. That's why Malema, which is of the EFF, right? Julius Malema, economic freedom fighters, they want a system of communism to take place in South Africa.
Which is a bad idea.
Guys, please tell us your comments. Do you think that communism would be a better idea for us to have in South Africa? What about in other countries? Mention other countries that seem like they're doing well with other systems. Give us your thoughts. Let's hear what you guys think. So on my end, I'm just saying that I think we have the ideal system. It's that it's not properly managed. It's not properly run. This is the ideal system of having a mixed economy. But at the end of the day, everything has a disadvantage.
Yeah.
But I think, and I'm not sure what the problem is right now. We have a strong private sector, but it seems like it's deliberate the way they want the state to fail. Because either way, as we talk about nationalization and privatization, the differences being nationalization is turning private assets and businesses and industries into state-run, state-run. And then privatization is taking national and state interests, industries and the like, or rather, industries and the like, and turning and selling them off, or rather turning them into capital, which means that they're going to be done for a profit. So in that case then, I ask myself, what exactly is happening? Because in South Africa we have an idealistic run state. Do you think the private sector is then making sure, as they did with SAA, which I believe was sold for 28 rands, and I think it's because of its liabilities, but the assets are, I think they're worth hundreds of billions, should be, if I'm not mistaken. But it was sold for 28 rands, and it was said that it might have been sabotage.
Yeah.
The private sector influencing the state so that they can sabotage it, so that the private sector can buy it, and then they can start profiting from it. Yeah.
To add my views on the whole 28 rand saga, right, for the SAA.
Sure.
It wasn't necessarily sold for 28 rand like on the dot, right? It's just that the amount of debt, the amount of baggage that company was carrying with it, right? It was so much that they couldn't charge a high price, because as soon as you buy that company, you have to take on all of that, right? So I see a lot of people getting confused. They're thinking, hey, it was 28 rand. I would have bought it. It wasn't accessible to just anyone. You needed to have that kind of that ability, right, to take on that debt, right, so that you can actually work with it and build. See.
And it's not just capital.
Yeah.
It's not about just having the money. It's about having the right power structures and the connections for such a thing to happen.
True.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you for that. For bringing those points in. Very big, very important. So then, we have something called the local economy. How then do we make sure that we, as businesses, and maybe give me a chance to explain what I mean, local businesses, we are creating local businesses, and what that means is that we are saving the people around us. Sometimes we want to go bigger than that, and for us to go bigger than that, it means we must somehow tap into the supply chain. Now, what the supply chain is the flow of inputs and processes until a service or a product ends up at the end user. So a simple example is, for you to drink milk today, the supply chain starts off at the cow, at the farmer.
At the farm, yeah.
How are they at the farm, right? How are they taking care of the cow to make sure that, so they're feeding the cow, it's grain, it can even go deeper than that, but let's start there. You feed the cow and make sure it's alive, and then make sure that it's breeding proper milk, then you go through a process of that, then you sterilize and clean the milk and whatever, then you take it to I don't want to say a warehouse or anything, but before they properly package it, then they take it somewhere, like if I would say a warehouse, and then after that they package it properly, and then they send it to retailers, and then retailers, we get it, right? Then in fact, before retailers, there are wholesalers who sell in bulk and stuff, and then we get it, we buy milk here at the retailers we mentioned earlier on. How do we tap into the the supply chain, because they are also stringent. They are also kept, as we spoke about oligopolies. Fine, we don't want to be, we don't want to be the oligopoly, but we just want to tap into the system or the chain. Are we restricted? How then do we help ourselves? Can we create our own supply chains? What should we do?
Alright, so since there are already supply chains already, in place,
Sure.
right? The best way to actually like do that, we call it scaling up, right? Because from your supplier, right, it goes to the manufacturing. From the manufacturing, it comes to retail, right?
Sure.
So usually when people start off, right, we start off at the retail space, right? And then if you want to scale, right, and own like your whole supply chain, you scale up, right? We call it scaling up.
Sure.
And that's basically like a thing that anyone can do, right? Anyone can own their supply chain.
Okay. Sure.
Anyone. Right? But it takes that commitment again, right? It takes that passion.
Sure.
Because if you not in the business to solve that specific problem that is right there, it's prevalent, it's loud, right? If you're not solving that problem, then you're not gonna have that drive. It actually takes time. A lot of people think like you're gonna enter the business space. You're a retailer. Let's say you started a tuck shop. You think you're gonna like own your supply chain like within like 2 years, 3 years. And it's not gonna happen that way. It's not, right? You need to scale, and the fastest way to scale is slow. That's the only way you can scale, right? Because where are you gonna get the money, right? You're gonna go to people, right, and then they're gonna tell you, okay, I'm gonna give you X amount of money, but I want X amount of control, right? And that in turn takes your business away from you, right? And you just don't have any control whatsoever, right? Because of your chase for money, right? It brings us back to that main thing. Entrepreneurs are problem solvers. If you're not solving a problem, get out, because you are gonna make a lot of mistakes, and you are gonna fail. If your main objective is money, you are gonna fail.
Sure.
Most definitely.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'd like to give a special thanks to the people and the business and the establishment that has given us the premise for us to record, which is called Tlankis Lounge in Kagiso at extension 11. Guys, I will show you the videos. I'm sure you're looking at them now. Visit this place if you guys would like to book this place. It's a very nice place. I mean, you'll see the videos as I'm speaking. And just contact the number below or the email that you see below. And honestly, they gave us an Enuna spot. So I'd like to give a special thanks to them. Thank you so much for seeing the vision and giving us the opportunity to give this very good information to you guys. Thank you. So then, in that case then, as you would know, I am a Christian. I know you're a Christian as well, we're in Christian side. And so, how do we put in conjunction God and business? In other words, and something I've noticed and I've been studying, some of the things I've noticed is that we have perceptions of commerce and business people as being greedy, as being crude, like they're very tough and stringent, as being money lovers. How do we put in conjunction, in juxtaposition, commerce, business, and God, religion, Christianity?
Alright. So, how to actually put that together? You must make God the foundation of your things, right? And you must actually understand that there's a difference between your spiritual life and your physical life, right? So many people make this one mistake, right? When they worship God, they don't necessarily worship God, right? They worship what He can do for them, right? And that's the problem.
Preach, brother.
So like you
Yeah.
must actually make sure that like your spiritual life is okay. It's set, right?
Yes.
It's in like the right direction, right? You must really fix your relationship with God. Like try do this one challenge for me, right? When you pray, right? Try not to pray for God to give you something. Just thank Him for the day that He allowed you to wake up in, because many people didn't see today. As much as like we take it lightly, right? Like a lot of people like they die in their sleep. But you woke out.
Exactly.
Like we need to get rid of like that thought process of when I'm with God anything can happen. He can give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And like we actually set our lives to actually work that way, right? It's not right.
Yeah.
It really isn't.
Yeah.
You must actually fix your spiritual life. He must be the foundation of your life, right? Must be the foundation. God is not witchcraft. You see?
Yeah.
He's not witchcraft.
Sure.
Like a lot of people, they come to the business space, they start a business and then it goes like, you know what, God, I'm here, I started this business, I want millions.
And it must work.
And it must work, I want millions, you see.
Yeah, otherwise I'm leaving.
And it's actually really wrong.
Yeah.
It's really wrong.
The perspective is
Like you must actually show God that you know what, like I'm here in this world, right, because of your will. Right? And you must understand that like, that's actually setting Him to be the foundation of your life, right? Understanding why you are here, right? You are not here to make money in this world, right? You are here to bring a difference. You are here to help God actually, save people, you see? So, we must stop this thing of like thinking God is witchcraft, God is not a like there's a lot of people like
call on God and you do anything you say.
You know what I mean?
As if you are the boss.
He's not Twasa, Lord. Like God is not Twasa, you understand? So like people should set their mind on like bringing Him as the foundation instead of like trying to make Him like that source, that secret source, to make money from, right? And then when it comes to the businesses, please repeat the question.
The question is, how do we bring a conjunction between business and God? How do we not lose ourselves in business, and how do we not lose God pursuing business? Because it sounds like they are not linking. I believe they can link.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Reason why I asked you to repeat the question is because you spoke about certain stereotypes, right?
Sure.
That business people have, right? And to be honest,
people seeing business. Yeah.
To be honest, right? Those things, as I said, they just stereotypes, right? At the end of the day, just because you know of some business person who's been greedy before, right? Who has exploited people before, doesn't mean like everybody in the space is just like that person. It's very unfair, and it's very backward-minded, right? Like we must understand that like every single thing happens because we allow it to happen. You understand? So just because like this one person was greedy doesn't make like every single business person greedy. There are NGOs. There are non-profits, right? Are you telling me those people are greedy? No. And they're also business people. They're entrepreneurs. They're solving problems. So like we should really step away from those stereotypes, right? Like we really should, right? God wants us to start businesses, right? He doesn't want us to be slaves.
I agree. 100%.
Like he really doesn't want us to be slaves.
Yeah. So not having a business makes you a slave.
No, not necessarily so, right? Like not having businesses, like to be honest.
To be honest, you might be even more of a slave, because you work yourself.
You can have a job, right? Don't get me wrong, right?
Yeah.
You can have a job, right? But I would advise you to also have other, income streams, right? I was looking at this other picture yesterday, right? It said if your income, if your salary is your only income, right? Then you are one step away from poverty.
True.
Which is true, right? Because if tomorrow you were to get fired, that money is not coming in. You are poor, Like we should adapt to this culture of having multiple income streams, right? And that in turn makes you not a slave, right? You don't have to wake up tomorrow and feel like you have to show up to work, otherwise your boss will fire you. That's a problem, right? You're living as a slave, because you're living in fear, right? We should live freely,
sure,
and the only real way we can live freely is when we actually take those steps and build those income streams, so that we can be free. And that's what God wants for us, right? He doesn't want us to go to church and then be on our knees, God, I want money, God, please give me money. He doesn't want that, right? He doesn't want that. Because what does he tell us? Silver and gold belongs to me, right? And in turn, if you are my children, then it belongs to you. It's your inheritance, right? And we should understand that, And to be honest with you, nothing comes for free. Nothing comes for free. That's why I keep on saying, God is not witchcraft. He's not that twasa snake that you have, and say, you know what, then you're that's not how he works. It's not how he works, right? You have to build it from the ground up.
Sure.
He will help you with opportunities, right? When you ask God to be rich, he gives you opportunities for you to be rich from, right? He will not put money into your bank account. He's not witchcraft, you see. So, that's the conjunction, I believe.
I like that. I like that so much. Guys, please tell us what are your thoughts on this thing, having only one income and you're one step away from poverty? How are you then going to make sure, or are you making sure that you combat this? Because it's a limitation. It's honestly a limitation. It disables you. Because now it's like you're in this context, now you're a slave. Because without this thing, you're not going to eat, you're not going to get your luxuries, etc. So please do tell us, how are you combating this, or how are you planning on doing so? You answered the next question that I had in mind. Which is how to balance money. Because by definition, loving money is the root of evil. But I think we'll touch that another time in depth. So you mentioned something. I mentioned it and then you answered it. So I just want to conclude it, which is around perceptions.
Okay.
Now, don't you think that either individuals or companies that are huge, is there propaganda around how they make money? And I think maybe we'll open this up another time, but let's just touch on it.
Okay.
On how they make money. What that means, for example, we look at the valuation of Amazon, right? It should be over $1 trillion, in my understanding. Now, does this mean they have $1 trillion in assets? Does this mean it's just a projection according to the way they are growing and scaling? Where is the value of this thing? Because I know to get what is this thing? Not networks, but what is it? The capitalization, like the cap of a company, you put a multiplier on it, depending on the industry and the like. So now we look at Amazon, right? Do they not inflate the way they make money, or how much money it seems like they are valued? Because we see it all the time. These billionaires that are losing 100 billion in net worth. Where is the money going? Just because they said they posted a tweet. So isn't there propaganda around how these big, huge businesses actually have money, or how much money they have, or how much value they actually have? Are they lying to us? Is that an exaggeration?
No, they are not lying to you, right? The value of a company is based solely from the demand that their stock has, right, from the investors, right? Yeah. And I'm not sure if Amazon is a public company now.
It is.
Right.
Yeah, it is
so,
a public company.
It's not inflated, right? The value is not inflated at all.
Is it?
Right? It's
okay.
not. It's just the demand of that stock, right? And if anything happens, right, that concerns that company, and it's really impactful, and it will impact the value of the stock.
Yeah, like your CEO smoking weed or something.
You
on a
see?
podcast.
Yeah, I mean, like, who will wanna like invest in, you know, like a company which is run by someone who just like touches drugs? You know, the stock will go down, it will tank, you know, because of like, you know, the demand, right? Like, that's basically it, right? Businesses are run by supply and demand in every aspect, right? Every single aspect, you know, from what they sell, you know, and who they sell to their stock value, right?
Crazy. So, which maybe we'll talk about another time. Questions that I'm having in my mind around this topic is it that fluid, you know, and how does one make sure they get a business to go public? I think we'll talk more about that another time. And you know, how do we build businesses like that? I think honestly, what we're trying to get to here is how do we become part of that economy? We want to be part of the big businesses that actually make the money. And you know, then I'll ask myself that do businesses actually then only make money in one revenue stream, the major revenue stream? Are people knowledge? Do they have the knowledge? Do they learn that businesses actually depend on a business model, and usually it's not just one revenue stream? So I think we'll talk more about those things, you know. Yeah, man, thank you so much. My closing question, which I am planning to give to all of my guests. We're starting out. Thank you guys, to you guys who've been viewing this until thus far. I really hope you enjoyed it. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you think. Yeah, tell us what you think. Last question, Mr. Maringa.
Right, sir.
What's the future for South Africa from your forecast, in your view?
The future for South Africa.
Yeah.
It's a very good future, I would say. You know, a lot more young people are entering the entrepreneurial space, and they actually understand what being an entrepreneur actually is. You know, I believe, you know, we are going to, you know, like reach new heights.
Sure.
I mean, we are like 28 years old, you know, in terms of democracy, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, it does take some time to adjust to, you know, like all the freedom, all the access, right? I mean, you must remember, like in our country, we were oppressed.
Yeah.
We were very much oppressed.
And the systems are still there.
You know.
Prevalent.
So, yeah, it's a very good future. It's a very good future. I don't wanna lie. I mean, like now, a lot more people are entering, you know, the YouTube space. You know, a lot more people are entering the e-commerce space. You know, a lot more people are like, you know, trading, like myself.
Sure.
Like there is growth. There is a lot of growth, right? And I believe, you know, 10 years down the line, we're actually gonna see like, you know, that growth like actually, you know, like sprouted. You know, we will see like, you know, a better like country. You know, all in all. You know, it's just that there are a few, you know, bumps on the road.
Sure.
You know, and that kind of like distracts us from like, you know, the whole view, right? But like, to be honest, yeah, it's coming okay. You know, I mean, we have young people now like able to buy like 3 cars, 4 cars, you know,
Sure.
like, and we see it on the internet, you know,
Yeah.
and, like this guy's young. He's young and he's able to do this.
Maybe younger,
You
maybe
know.
also. Yeah.
And like, you know, that information that he has,
Yeah.
which he was able to like utilize to get those things, is accessible to everyone, right? And I believe like, you know, that is actually driving the youth, which is, you know, it's connected. You know, it's like the youth is actually focusing now, right? They actually see like what's actually important, you know.
Sure.
And what's important is not making money. What's important is bringing change.
Sure.
You know, and I believe, you know, that change is gonna happen. It just takes time.
Powerful. Thank you so much, Mr. Maringa.
Thank you
It's
for
been a
having me.
pleasure being with you. Tell me, you like my friends, you know? Closing thoughts, the youth. There is a powerful future that we have in South Africa, even though today it seems like we have a dark present. But don't worry, keep working hard. Our time is now. Our time is now, and I think we should just keep focusing. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'd like to once more give a special shout out to Tlankis Lounge in Kakuso Extension 11 for giving us this wonderful scenery. Tell us what you think about it. Do you you guys want us to shoot more episodes here, and would you guys like to see Mr. Maringa more, I enjoyed having him here. And give us comments on how we can improve the podcast. Thank you so much. I am Thuli Molefe, an award-winning business leader, also known as Thuli the King. And this is the Thuli the King Connection podcast. Thank you.